Hi, I'm Gillian, mother of Jensen, now 14 years of age. Was first sort of introduced to Affinity Trust due to Jensen's behaviour, which was exceptionally challenging. Behaviour had escalated and was rather violent, leading to hospital visits. And to be quite honest, it was getting to the point where I was saying that I couldn't manage at all. It was more like a lifeline, really. It's difficult to put into words, really, but when you're getting attacked, you know, sort of 10, 15 times a day by your own child, could almost be tearful now, really, thinking about it. So there was a referral to Affinity Trust.
Hi, I'm Adele. I'm the clinical lead for Affinity Trust's Children and Young People division. So positive behaviour support is a framework based in the science of learning and behaviour, but it also takes into account social values within that. We look to increase quality of life for the people that we work with, but with our case, with our service, we also look to increase quality of life for families too.
Prior to the referral to PBS, well, I didn't have any knowledge regarding Affinity Trust and positive behaviour support. To be honest, I didn't even know what PBS was.
PBS focuses on what drives a child's actions and the reasons behind the behaviours. This can mean that children gain a sense of security and trust, knowing that adults working with them are working together in their best interests.
Hi, I'm Carly and I'm a PBS practitioner with Affinity Trust. So when you first meet a family, you will get to meet the parents, maybe to do the functional assessment, and then you can just kind of get introduced to them. So I met my family and I first off met them for about 10 minutes, got to know the home, introduced to the parents, and then I got to know the young person, and I just gradually built up in time. You just kind of explain how many times you're going to be coming, what works well for them, what they kind of want from you as a practitioner, and you just kind of like build a rapport with them like that gradually.
There was a lot of behaviour analysis that took place, so we could look at periods or times during the day where there may be elevated behaviour, and Affinity Trust was very flexible in when and how long they worked with us on a daily basis, because on occasions they also worked in school as well with Jensen. The support worker was consistent, it was the same person initially, but also over a period of time we did have different support workers, which were really good for Jensen because it made him a little bit more flexible.
We also hold co-production days, which is a day where families and young person or carers can come and they can give their ideas, different things we could be doing. And with that collaborative work, it really does involve the young person. You know, they can have a say in what goes in the PBS plans, what their likes are, what they don't like, what they feel like might be working well. The young person is the whole reason that we collaborative work with these people, so it's really important if they're able to get their voice in it.
The PBS plan was sort of co-produced. My family, friends were involved as well in the process. A very in-depth plan. The plan was then shared with everybody. With Jensen, behaviours can be different in different environments. So it was really important that everybody was involved, so we got a real clear and concise picture of how Jensen presents across all environments.
A lot of PBS is changing the environment to fit the person. So say if they struggle to go into school, they might be you might work with school to put them on a half timetable, or if they're having issues with something at a particular time of day, you can have a look at that and see if there's a calmer, quieter environment they could go to, not just in school but in terms of home, everything, and just seeing how you can make that more beneficial for them.
After following the PBS plan and putting lots of intervention in place for Jay, we went with like single function environments, bedrooms were just used for the purpose, eating areas were used for the purpose, sort of low demand language. Following the PBS plan at that stage, there was a huge shift.
Hi, my name's Sarah. I am a senior PBS practitioner. With the young people, communication is really key. So we use lots of resources to encourage the children to have a voice, like a board here. So this is to encourage them to have their own voice by saying, I want, and then we can choose, I want a snack. And that's a really simple way of the children to communicate with us. This isn't just for non-verbal kids. This can simplify children, especially if they're escalating. Putting too many words into a sentence can be a demand. So this can encourage the children to strip back their sentencing, and it tells us what they want.
So, I mean, initially we started with visual timetables and sort of now and next boards. But then we was able in time to just go through our day without placing a demand, as in a request to request him to do something like to brush his teeth or to get washed or get dressed. It just all came naturally.
So PBS is effective, but it can be a slower process. There's really good days, and then some days you can have really bad days, really bad weeks. I think sometimes with PBS you have to look back at what you've done over the past few months or even the few weeks to realise that, you know, you have put things in place and things are working. You actually are achieving a lot, you're just doing it on the pace of family and the young person.
I could see it being a possibility of change. I knew it wasn't going to be easy and I knew there wasn't going to be a quick fix, but it was my son, and I was willing to do everything possible to make it happen. Life now with Jensen is very contrasting to what it was in 2018. In 2018, I didn't have anything. Even the kitchen drawers were locked. The fridge was locked. There was no food in here, it was all locked in there. There was no pictures, there was no clock, there was no anything made out of glass, because he just smashed things on my head plates. He'd pull all my hair out. I had a bald head, I had black eyes, I had damaged corneas. You know, I didn't have a life. I used to sit in the shed and lock myself in there to keep away from him and cry. It's without Affinity Trust, I don't think we'd be here today. It is a life. I have a life, and so does Jensen. He can go out in the community. He can do most things independently. I even shock myself some days when I look at him, because he's almost perfect. It's wonderful.